and let us all do we can to build a better future. Roger Meadows, you talk a lot about co-ops. He's a good friend of the show. I think we've all seen firsthand a lot of people talk about unions, co-ops. It's in this day and age, there has to be some social safety net for workers. Now, here in the United States, we don't have that. And in the realm of journalism, one media outlet, not TYT, but Current Affairs apparently fired most of its staff for trying to start a workers' co-op. So let's first pull up this tweet if we can, FaZe. This has been gaining a lot of traction on social media, but this is from Lita Gold. This is what I guess a former member of Current Affairs. I am grieved to tell you that Nathan J. Robson has effectively fired me and most of the Current Affairs staff because we were trying to organize into a worker co-op. This isn't a bit. I wish it was. So let's go ahead and look at the Google Drive. Now, in case any of you can't read it or want to check out the show notes, they're in the description box below. I want to read this letter almost in its full entirety, but here we go. Dear comrades, we, the former full and part-time staff, write to you with deep sadness and disappointment about the recent events that occurred at Current Affairs. On August 8th, Editor-in-Chief Nathan J. Robertson, author of Why You Should Be a Socialist, unilaterally fired most of the workforce to avoid an organizational restructuring that would limit his personal power. Yes, we were fired by the editor-in-chief of a socialist magazine for trying to start a worker co-op. Now, look, I'm a fan of co-ops. I'm a fan of unions, but co-ops, I think Daniel really put me more on board of co-ops and why they're needed. But anyways, continuing on, we all joined Current Affairs at different times. The business manager was even hired with the explicit instruction to help shepherd the magazine through a process of creating a more democratic workspace in alignment with our socialist values. The organizational restructuring has been a topic for most of 2020 and 2021. We discussed it formally. We tried piecemeal reforms. We did a full organizational survey and one-on-one interviews with editors and staff to try and find consensus on a collective vision. Everyone's stated goal, including Nathan's, was to create a democratic workplace where all voices were equally valued. Okay, this makes sense. I like this. Seems reasonable. All right, but when we finally got around to discussing organizational models during a Zoom meeting on August 7th, Nathan became agitated. He insisted that our attempt was to set shared internal values were disregarding his vision of Current Affairs as published in the first issue. There was a palpable shift in his demeanor, and he behaved in a hostile manner throughout the rest of the conversation. The next morning, he started removing people from the company's Slack and sent letters requesting resignations, eliminating positions, and in some cases, offering new honorary titles which would have no say in governance. In individual letters, Nathan claimed that he had impairedly lost faith in our ability to work together, but less than 24 hours later, he sent follow-up emails retracting his statements and admitting that he simply did not want Current Affairs to be a democratic workplace. He believes in his guts that the magazine and media venture we have collectively created is purely his. He wrote, "The organization has been heading slowly for some sort of reckoning where it was going to have to be made clear once and for all what kind of authority I wanted to have over it. And I was in denial about the fact that the answer is I think I should be on top of the organization chart, with everyone else selected by me and reporting to me. I let Current Affairs build up into some sort of egalitarian community of friends while knowing in my heart that I still thought of it as my project over which I should have control." Dude. Okay, so the rest of the...
A little late, right? I mean, come on.
Better late than never. We noted, we know darkly that he says... egalitarian community of friends and not, of course, a workplace. Nathan's overtures since the purge has been to reach out to repair friendships or hastily offer new ad hoc work. Again, this is madness. But he is fundamentally missing the point that he has effectively fired us for organizing for better work conditions. We are sad, aghast, betrayed, and of course angry to realize that this person we trusted has been lying to us for years. So again, I want to read more of the letter, but I think it's fair that I bring the platform, or at least get the thoughts from the rest of my team members here. But this letter was written in solidarity by Eldria Silcox, business manager, Lita Gold, whose tweet I read earlier, managing managing and amusements editor, Kate Christensen, administrative assistant, Alyssa McCree, former producer of Current Affairs podcast, and Kate Root, poet at large, formerly administrative. Guys, Kira, we'll start off with you.
Yeah.
This is, this is a little bit different than TYT when Cenk was trying to destroy that union that was getting started. But
Cenk is a self-proclaimed capitalist,
Yeah.
right? So this dude, so first of all, just full disclosure, I did not read Current Affairs. I don't know who this Robinson character is. So this whole entity is new to me as of today. So the opinions I'm sharing are not based in me actually knowing anybody personally, just the research that I did. And when you're writing a book about why socialism is the best,
that was
the
funny
best,
right there.
system, and then you start a company and you don't actually share ownership, that already seems really weird to me. Because if you wrote a whole book about socialism being the best way to organize, why wouldn't you just start your company that way? So that first and foremost, raised red flags for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I was reading, and this guy, like, like maybe going along to get along, maybe lying, or maybe just lying to himself. Maybe he wasn't like trusting his own sense of himself, his own tweet. I've done that plenty where I'm just like, no, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. And then I'm like, go along to get along. And then at like the last moment, pull the plug and say, never mind, I did not want that. The only problem with how Robinson did it here is he's impacted however many people are on his payroll, which is a real issue. You're really messing with people's lives and livelihood when you are not being honest about, and again, like, I don't know if he's a liar, but he certainly wasn't being honest. What I'm really seeing in this story, and again, this is just my lens and the story I made up about this story, is just basically like your basic human condition, right? Which is just like that of survival. We live in a paradigm of survival. And so this guy, probably sees this organization as really an expression of who he is what it sounds like. And when faced with actually like, and I'm going to put it this way, and I don't even mean it this way, losing it, his ego maybe couldn't take that. So I'm just making up a story about this guy right now when I say that, but I think it's just really funky that he didn't set up the organization as a socialist organization from the get-go.
Yeah, Daniel.
So we have, we've worked with and talked to and done a lot of interactions over the years, both internally and externally, especially externally in Chicago, with people who call themselves socialists. A lot of them, it turns out, really don't mean it, at least in our experience. There's a couple people that I know that I'm not going to say anything, but Kit can make. There's very specific people that called themselves, "Oh, I'm communist," but they acted.
I need to get
purely.
in on this.
Oh yeah, we'll tell you after. But happened that were purely capitalist in their mindset and action and determining of how they. So it's like I understand dealing with people like this since we've dealt with people like. We've said it a number of times that the ultimate goal of what we're building is to create a co-op, and sometimes it's easier to. It's like Hard Lens is like just so barely like just doing nothing more than just covering its own expenses that it's kind of there's no surplus to distribute. But we've already turned Chicago Reacts into a partial version of a co-op where everyone is paid out based on the actual success of the channel. Because it's kind of weird to like everyone has this anyway, but we mean it, and it's also the other thing I might understand from his point of view is when you're starting a company from scratch and you're not paying yourself, you want to keep doing it a certain way until there is a profit margin that you can actually reasonably give to everyone. And if that was the case with it, which it is not, he already had a well-established group of people of over 20 people or however many were there that had already had all those things established. That's the point in time where you're supposed to start turning that model over so that either maybe him as an owner, here's something he could have done instead of taking it the way he did. And I would even say that what he was doing was he's not confident that people are going to follow him if it's a co-op. That's the takeaway I'm getting from it.
Yeah.
Because he already expressed it's his idea, it's his thing, and that to me, reading between the lines, is him saying, and if everyone's involved in this, it'll definitely go another direction because no one agrees with me on this thing. That's my reading between the lines on what he's saying. So that shouldn't be a worry, though. If you have a good team, you got to trust that they're going to be able to handle those kind of changes. And another thing I think that would have been really nice for him to do when he saw that everyone was going and talking about co-op, because he still does have that control. Well, not of as many people, and I'm sure he's going to collapse because of the reputation of this sort of a publication for making this kind of action. Ta-da, congratulations, you played yourself. Don't worry, it's still your vision. It's just going to die really quickly, and good luck hiring people quickly to replace the people that took you so long to do it. Again, very bad decision. But here's something he could have done when they came up with this thing. He said, oh, that's really good. We want to convert to a co-op. Let me lead the discussion.
Yeah.
Something of that nature. I mean, but the fact that he acted that way is a short-sighted attack that caused him to kick out most of his workers, which of course means most of the income that they generated is also gone as well. The reputation is trashed. And how is he going to fill all these places? So if he was making whatever he was making in profit every single month, he's now losing money.
You know, there's another thing, too, to take away, and that is, you know, after 2016, there was a lot of people who were saying that they were progressive or socialist, but once put in positions of power or they got something built up, they never really meant it. And Daniel is absolutely correct. We have run into people who said they were one thing, but were something else completely different. And this is something that I think a lot of us have seen nationwide across the states. We've seen activists, we've seen politicians, we've seen so many people who say that they're democratic, socialist, or progressive, but never follow through or either go back to carrying water for the democratic establishment. I mean, this is a thing we've seen. And the thing is, the long-lasting impact with current affairs, and this is going to be similar to the Young Turks, is okay, when your workers, the people who make your ship function, say, hey, we want to have some social safety nets, we want to have some more discussion about benefits and our own safety, which at the end of the day, look, me and Daniel, we want to make sure that Heartlands Media 99 Perspectives, the studio's working, but the thing is, him and I can only do so much. We do want to have a team. And in order to have this stuff work, you got to take care of the people who are keeping everything moving along. You got to make sure you had the proper infrastructure. And what Jank and this guy, Nathan Robertson, failed to realize is that your team is what makes you who you are, not just you and you alone. No king can say, no emperor, no president can ever say that they alone did everything. Where's the statues and the great monuments to the workers that make things what they are? And I just want to read this final tweet here. It's not available in the show notes, but it's because I was kept on looking for a response from Current Affairs, and there's none, even from Nathan Robinson, none. And it goes like this. If you're an active member of your DSA chapter and be willing to be interviewed for some current affairs writing and academic research, I'm doing a How Socialists Organize. Please email Nason at currentaffairs.org, particularly interested in New Orleans and in Chicago, but welcome all respondents. And it's getting ratioed right now because everyone keeps saying the same thing. Hey, dude, I heard you just fired everyone else trying to do co-ops. Look, co-ops are key. Unions are key. And the thing is, you know, if you're unwilling to take the initiative and say, okay, I agree with the co-op, here, to Daniel's point, here's how I want to lead the discussion. And the thing is, if he's so afraid of losing his power, then he's not really a real leader at all. Mm-hmm. What this tells me, and I'm going to take your words, he seems to be like a biggity bitch. That's it. A little punk bitch.
I would also just say that, like, I can also kind of put myself in his shoes to some degree. Obviously, the choices he made are atrocious and would not be made the same way. Another thing that if he's thinking, man, I put in all this startup money into the business and they're just going to take it away. First of all, that's a terrible way to think of your crew. Just outright, they've helped grow it And he knows that he would have never been able to do it on his own anyway. So it's not, I don't know. It just seems like this is a faux pas that he made that destroyed his own company in the attempt to keep it for himself.
Yeah.
And I think that is just a baby back bitch move.
Yeah.
There's because I'm such a softie, and you guys know this about me. I kind of feel like bad for him because he really messed up. Nobody is going to be able to take this dude seriously anymore.
I don't.
I mean,
and I'm not too familiar with
that's
current
a
affairs,
big effing deal, and
Yeah.
I don't think that he saw that iceberg coming
No.
when
that-
he did this.
And that goes right to what Kit was saying, that's the mark of a bad leader, because as a good leader, you should be able to see all of these possibilities in front of you at all times. And anytime you make a giant decision like that, also, if he was thinking, oh, other places do that, like TYT does that, yeah, they're also have keys in other places. They have all these other options. They're much bigger. You don't have the option of losing your entire work staff because you don't like them organizing, which is concurrent with the message that you are countering.
Which is what you were encouraging up until the last minute. It's wild. This story was a roller coaster ride, and I don't even know any of these people.
Yeah. So I think as a final note, I think all of us need to really keep an eye out, especially all those people that rose up in 2016 who were saying that they were socialists and everything else because of the Bernie Sanders campaign in 2016 and 2020. It's an eye-opening thing that we all need to realize, and that is consistency. Please be consistent. But to the workers that did the co-op for current affairs, all the best to you, and I'm sorry that your leader failed you. With that being said,
really quick, I just want to
go
give a
ahead.
personal message to everyone out there on this topic. If you're ever questioning when someone says that, whether or not they're real, don't care about what they say. Literally, what they say is irrelevant. Only care about how they act.
All right.